everyone. Welcome back to Ancient Aliens in Modern Times. We are your hosts, Stephanie Yelovich and
Melanie Wild. Let's get into it.
Yes, my girl. Well, friends, we, without small talk, are going to be continuing on with our Pantheon of Gods series that we started a couple weeks ago. Feels like we started this like years ago. It's so funny. There's so much information to delve into, and I have some stuff to share, but I know Mel has some pretty juicy stuff to share today.
Yeah.
So we will ask you on this day to put on not your tinfoil hat, which usually stays on my head, but we're going to ask you to put on your neutral hat. So we're going to bring forward some concepts today, what if concepts, but things that might, I don't want to say the word triggering, but that might be something very opposite of what you've been taught or what you've been shown in our historical timeline. So just keep your minds open, as we always remind you to do. And we're going to continue on this train of looking at where the systems in control are foundationally corrupt, essentially.
Yeah. Foundationally.
So last week, yeah, exactly. So last week, we looked at modern day Hollywood. We looked at the royals and the royal family and the bloodline and some of those connections there. And today we're going to be getting into some different stuff, continuing backwards through the timeline. So, I'm gonna kind of bring forward a little information about a really well-known. I'm gonna call her a writer and an occultist, is kind of how she's described. But this is Madame Blavatsky. I'm sure many people have heard of her. And just looking at really her concepts of why um why she believed all religions contain fragments of ancient wisdom and tradition, claimed to be, and she also claimed to be in contact with advanced spiritual adepts known as the masters, I say in quotes.
Mm.
And many of you will know of some of these masters that she speaks about, specifically Saint Germain, which he was someone she very much revered. But just kind of looking at where she got this information and why it's stuck with us today. So I'll just give a brief bit of information about her. So she was an occultist, a writer, and she was the co-founder of something called the Theosophical Society. And I think the key thing about her and what Mel's going to talk about is the timeline. So really looking at when this was all going down and where these gods, we say in quotations, or these human beings, or these bloodlines have decided that they were going to implement what they were going to implement to further control us. I believe that she, on the other hand, was trying to implement and make us aware of a system of beings and also of knowledge that was kind of maybe lost from earlier times, especially Atlantean times, and where this whole framework of, these spiritual teachings came from, and how, when Mel discusses what she discusses, how those were kind of trying to be squashed and kept from us. Um, so and I know, Mel, I have to ask you, who in your knowledge, so I'm going to talk about Saint Germain. In your knowledge, who is he often said to be the reincarnation of? Because I know you had a couple thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
So Saint Germain, from what I understand and have researched on him, he comes from the Great White Brotherhood,
Mhm,
and
'kay.
and from there they correlate him and his teachings, that of Yeshua, that
Mm,
of
'kay.
Thoth, that of, I've heard, Merlin, uh, and
Yes.
yeah, so and Hermes Trismegistus. So his teachings, I know that he teaches a lot of the violet flame of light from the Great White
Mhm,
Brotherhood. Yeah,
mhm.
and so he's definitely, I would call him, in modern day esoteric sort of spiritual teacher. and
Yeah.
he existed physically in the 1700s.
Correct. That's correct from my research. I have found this also. Thank you, madame.
My pleasure.
And I think why he was so mysterious to people was that we observed a lot of traits about him, but we don't have a lot of information. So, yes, he was a real guy. He was a count that existed in the courts in kind of in Eastern, or not just Eastern Europe, but in Europe. So in France, Germany, England, as well as Russia. And he was very revered by Blavatsky because during his lifetime, there were stories of alchemy, secret knowledge, and longevity specifically. So some people also speak of him potentially being like a reincarnation of Dracula, like more like Vlad the Impaler, that bloodline. But that's not been proven anywhere. And the reason why was because of the longevity, because he always was described as ageless. And after his reported death, so he passed away, it is stated, in 1784, there were sightings or encounters, or that people claimed encounters, I should say, during the French Revolution, the 19th century, and the 20th century. So I find that kind of interesting. But
That is,
the
yeah.
things that he was kind of, yeah, and when you talk more, I'm excited to see how this all lines up timeline-wise.
Can I just interrupt you
Um,
before you move into your next
yeah,
thought? Because what I
yeah.
find interesting is that there were said apparitions of him
Mm,
after his physical passing. You know who else appeared after his physical passing
uh-huh. Mr.
outside of his
Yeshua.
tomb?
Correct. That was the first thing I
Yeshua.
thought of. Yep,
Yeah. But,
yep.
like, so it's like, ah, man, I'm super excited to talk about what I'm talking about this episode, but next episode, we're gonna get more into religion, and that's where I get real fired
Mm,
up.
sure,
But, like, it really grinds my gears when people in Christianity and Catholicism, like, claim voodoo witchcraft on anything that's not a part of their beliefs. However,
sure.
their beliefs are literally voodoo witchcraft. Like, they believe some guy who was human sacrificed by
Mhm.
his god, by his
Yep,
dad,
yep.
um, came back outside of his fleshly being, and then when you eat his body and his blood, you
Mhm.
somehow get closer to God. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Saint Germain appeared after his physical death to
Mhm.
others with his
Exactly.
spiritual knowledge. Please go
Yeah.
on.
Thank you. And you made me think of 2 other things. The alchemy that Saint Germain was said to have, been able to perform. Look at Yeshua. He was able to walk on water, and he also turned water into wine.
That's right.
So, that sounds like alchemy to me, and that's also those are lines that are often quoted from the Bible. So, I also digress, but those examples made me think of those examples. Thank you. Um so a little bit more information about Saint Germain is that the reason why Blavatsky held him in such high regard as well was because he was highly intelligent. He spoke multiple languages. He actually was a musician as well that played the violin, kind of cool. And she hinted to the fact that he was connected to the hidden brotherhood of masters who guided humanity's spiritual evolution. So she even speaks to the fact, and she speaks quite a bit about Atlantis. She wrote a book called The Secret Doctrine. And she even speaks that these masters were existing in that time period. And as Atlantis started to shift, and we started to kind of get off the rails a little bit in multiple ways, the knowledge was preserved specifically as well by these masters. So kind of cool that it all kind of goes back. And I laugh because I know I always bring it back to Atlantis, but there is a reason. I swear. I need a t-shirt that just said everything is connected to Atlantis.
I made that meme for
um,
you.
Thank you. I know you did. Mel did a meme drop the other week, and she made one specifically poking at those of us who read about Atlantis, and that's all we talk about now. My home is an Atlantean temple, I swear. Um, so, okay, let me get back on. Okay, so something kind of cool as well that I like that she brings forward. Um, because I'm gonna give it to Mel pretty soon, but she talks about this concept of root races. So this was pretty controversial when she wrote about this. She didn't believe that Atlantis was like this fantasy island, you know. She believed it was a prehistoric civilization, which is also what I believe. Um, that had highly advanced scientific knowledge, psychic and occult abilities were rampant among people. We had sophisticated tech and also great architectural achievements, but we gradually became corrupt, and you know we misused psychic powers. Not all of us, but some of us pursued materialism and violated spiritual laws. So you know we all want to think of the sunshiny time, but there was a time when it wasn't great. So I'm just going to really briefly read about the root races. So the first root race she speaks about, and she talks about the fact that humanity develops through successive stages. And
Mm.
I would agree that this would be true in how we evolve and ascend. And I believe this is also what Yeshua taught. So the first root race is mostly ethereal, almost non-physical beings. Second root race, more developed, but still not fully physical. Third root race were the inhabitants of Lemuria, which I have spoken about that this came before Atlantis. The fourth root race were the Atlanteans, and the fifth root race is present humanity right now. So we are still in basically this part of our evolution as humanity, or as humanity as a whole. And so I think we're going to see some really interesting timelines. So, did I mention when she was born? She was born 1831 and she passed away in 1891. So, she wasn't that old. What is that, 60 years she lived?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so looking at that and then looking at Saint Germain, mentioned that he's said to have passed in 1784. I don't have his birth date actually. But that's okay, that doesn't matter. So where all this information came from, and it is said that it came from, was from the Akashic Records. So, you know, there's some controversy there where, you know, a lot of her information, I think, was channeled and it was something that was a knowing that was written down. I'm sure that she did her research. I'm sure there was also physical research, but a lot of these things are claims. A lot of this information is coming from a person who said it, wrote it down, published it in multiple books, and so now we take like, if we look in the New Age spiritual community, there are a lot of people that are like, "Oh my goodness, Saint Germain, I work with the violet flame," which I think is beautiful. I actually really like the violet flame. But are we really sure, like, where it came from, who created it? Is this actually true that it came from this far back? And I think this is where we can look at the fact that a lot of these systems that we exist underneath, I'm going to say underneath, that have been created to control us are simply that. Like these are not things that have been since the beginning of time in history. A lot of this that was created to suppress.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna give it off to you now, Mel, because I know you have a lot to share, and I have a feeling that the timelines of when the things that you're gonna talk about actually really do line up with the people that I just mentioned here. So,
Yeah. And they very
yeah,
much
tell
do. Like,
us.
what you've kind of, like, started the build up to the timeline that I'm gonna introduce. So, but what
Awesome.
before I get into that, what I found interesting about what you said is the 5 root races,
Yeah.
and how it started in the etheric, non-physical,
Mhm.
semi-etheric, semi-physical, and
Mhm.
then into physical Atlantis,
Lemuria, then
Lemuria,
Atlantis.
and then Atlantis,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then modern day. And so what's interesting is, like, if we go back into, like, the Gnostic story of, like,
Mhm.
the pleroma, right,
Mm.
is the wholeness, is the oneness, is totally non-physical, and then it divides into, like, the not the archons, but the, yeah, well, is it the archons? Yeah, it is yeah, and then so then it's the, like, Sophia, right, who then has the
Mhm.
demiurge, which is then sent to the physical, which would be the Lemuria, and then or maybe
Oh,
the Atlantis, but it's, like, it's
yeah.
interesting because it follows the same flow as the Gnostic texts of, like, totally nothingness of, like,
Yeah.
the whole, and or the monad is that, and then the pleroma, that's where I missed it. The monad, the pleroma, then
Hmm.
Sophia, then the demiurge, and then modern day. So that's the 5, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Monad, pleroma, Sophia, demiurge, which is
Wow.
Yaldabaoth, which is Yahweh, and then
Yeah.
modern day.
And
So
I love what you just said too, because the Lemurians were a feminine society. The
mhm,
Atlanteans were a more masculine society. So Sophia, and then
is the
who'd be,
feminine,
yeah. And then what
demiurge,
did you say after? And then the Demiurge came after.
masculine.
Yes,
Yeah.
and in reality, those 2 races were meant to meld and work together, but the Lemurians were a really trusting, and they were a lot more, based in the feminine and earth-based healing and the etherics, whereas the Atlanteans developed all the technology and needed the physical aspects of the galactic teachings to do the work. So, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't even
Well,
go
what
there, probably because it's your specialty, but, you know.
well, that's why I like what we're doing too, is because we both are, like, coming from, like, a different set of, like, root knowledge that
Yeah.
what's important is what in these discussions that we're having is that we're finding the overlaps because
Absolute.
that's where the truth is, right? Like, I truly believe that the truth is, um, the the sum total of all perspective and the
Mm,
crossover of where those perspectives meet. So,
that's
it's
beautifully
like
said.
you've probably seen that, art thing where it's like you have, like, a cube in the center, and then from every different vantage point, it looks like a different structure.
Uh-huh,
Right? And
yes.
so if you
Yep.
only so if you have, like, this cube in the center of a room and you stand direct north of the cube, it just looks like a square, it doesn't look like a cube. But if you
True.
stand northeast of the cube, now it looks like a diamond, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
which perspective is true?
Mm,
Which is a great
that's
segue into
yeah.
what I wanna talk about.
You're
So
smart.
Um, we've gone from we've gone from the 1700s with Saint Germain and, Saint Germain presenting this wisdom, to the people at that time about basically finding God within, really, because that's what Saint
Mhm,
Germain was about. Like, that is the
mhm,
violet flame, is the violet flame of light is the source of God's love and devotion, and when you emulate or expand this violet flame of light, which exists within all living creation, you expand God's love, and through that, you heal, you realign, you balance, and you step forward in the highest timeline, if that's what we want to call
mhm.
it.
Yep.
And so he's preaching this like beautiful, loving, compassionate way of being. And then Madame Blavatsky discovers his teaching and then continues his work, continues teaching this
Mhm.
into the late 1800s. And then what happens? Okay, I want to talk about that. So,
Let's find out.
we are going to let's start where should I start? I have, like, 15 pages of notes, you guys. I just like, this is a jam-packed. Okay, so where should we start here? So, we're in the late 1800s, or should I go even back? Okay, let's start with the creation of Zionism.
Mm,
Okay,
good.
so in
Hot topic.
18 hot topic. We're talking. This word Zionism is appearing a lot in modern, um, culture and maybe not, like, mainstream, maybe a little bit mainstream, I would
Mhm.
say, actually, because
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, they talk about it on, like, some more what do we call them? The Muggle podcasts where they're like it's, like,
yeah,
very political.
yep.
Um, and
What
so
is the
okay,
definition of Zionism?
so, Zionism was created by
Yep.
Moses Hess in 1862,
Mhm.
in his book called Rome and Jerusalem, and what it does is so Moses Hess was a Jew, and he called upon the Jewish people to become separatists and to prepare for the creation of a future homogeneous Jewish ethno state. In this book, Rome and Jerusalem, by Moses Hess, he declared that Palestine will be occupied by the Jewish people. But at that time, Palestine was 90 to 95% Arab.
Mm.
So Hess promoted eugenics, keeping the Jewish bloodline pure, which is an important note when from last episode when we talked
Yeah.
about the royal family and keeping their bloodline pure.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
important thing that's coming up. Now, Hess was also friends, close friends, with Karl Marx, the creator
Oh.
of Marxism, mm,
Huh.
which is full-blown communism.
Yep.
Um, and so Karl Marx did not know this. This is also interesting, in the information I'm gonna present, a lot of these figures, these gods, modern day gods, they have different birth names, and then they later change their names,
Well,
which
isn't
I
that
find
interesting?
like, what are you hiding? Right? Because like,
Absolutely.
it's like an identity switch. So why
Mhm.
are we changing our names? What is it that we
Mm.
don't want to know? So Karl Marx, his real name was Moses Mordecai Levy. Um,
Whoa.
and he was a descendant, yeah, like,
That's different.
excuse that's very biblical.
You're
Moses
telling me.
Mordecai Levy or Levi,
Wow.
um, descended from a long line of Talmudic rabbis and was related to the Rothschilds. And the Rothschilds funded Karl Marx.
Sorry.
He
Like, you
was
can't make this stuff up,
nicknamed
guys,
you cannot. So
and we're
Karl
not.
Marx, he was nicknamed the Jewish father of communism.
Wow.
Right, yeah. And so he wrote a book with Frederick Engels called The
Mhm.
Communist Manifesto. And in the Communist Manifesto, um, they wrote about the key points of it. What they wrote about was that they needed a central bank, um, so that they could have a monopoly in credit. So they wanted to establish a financial system based on credit. Okay,
Huh.
not on gold, not on physical money or
Mm. So debt,
physical gold and
essentially.
yeah, so a debt system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in this book, The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, they promoted abolition sorry, my tongue
Ablation?
abolition, thank you, of
No problem.
countries and nationalities. They wanted to
Wow.
abolish the traditional family, and they wanted to abolish private property and
Oh,
promote heavy taxation.
is this Canada right now? Because it sounds like it's Canada right now.
Please, yes, right? And
I'm
so
sorry, but
In this book, Marx used the term Holocaust in
wow.
1856.
Hmm.
In 1856, he wrote about a Holocaust, and I
Mm.
quote, this is Karl Marx, I quote, "The classes and the races too weak to master the new conditions of life must give way. They must perish in the revolutionary Holocaust."
Oh my.
In 1856, Karl Marx wrote that, and
Wow.
he was Jewish. Okay? Now,
Mhm.
I want so he was Jewish, but he was more importantly a Zionist, okay?
Mhm.
So, I
Mhm.
really want to establish that a lot of people right now, there's, like, a big thing of anti-Semitism going on, and I think because this information is coming up, and, And so it's like they go against all Jews. Now, we need to, like, be very careful here and say
Mhm.
that what we're talking about is Zionist Jews. And so the
Yep.
Zionists are the Jews that want to have a separate ethno-state of just Jews where nobody else
Mm,
can exist. Okay? That is the people that we're talking about. That was Karl Marx, um,
mm.
and Moses Hayes, the creation of Zionism. Now, they have a little they have an elite buddy, you know, friend group.
Their pod, their
They're
bubble.
all yeah, they're what did they call it in COVID? Their, um,
I think it's like your
cohort.
bubble or your yeah, your cohort. Yes. Sounds like a class, like a school class.
Yeah, it's a little culty. Um,
Ah, well,
so now in 1829 okay, so in 1829, the Rothschilds purchased Jerusalem, the city. They purchased it.
like, they I just would like to buy that now, thank you.
Yeah, but so
Wow.
okay. So, also, I should tell everybody where I'm getting this information from, because this is
Mhm.
also very important, and I think that
Yes.
everybody listening to this right now, you need to write
Mhm.
this down, and then you need to go into your web browser and type in www.europa, Europa, the last battle, .net, net. You cannot watch this docuseries anywhere else on the internet because
'Kay.
it is heavily banned
Mm,
because it, and I quote ChatGPT, promotes Nazism.
mm,
Okay? So,
okay.
now, with an open mind, you are allowed to look at a variety of information, and decide for yourself
Mhm.
if you relate or you find it truth or not. Just because you watch something from a perspective that you've been told is horrible
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're horrible. It means that you have an open mind and you're willing to look at the northeast perspective of that cube in the center of the room.
Yes.
Okay?
And I love you for saying that because I think for us to understand what is evil and what is not evil, we have to look at both sides. It doesn't
Yes,
mean you're a bad person because you're looking at both sides. The light exists because the dark exists. So, thank you for
exactly.
saying that.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I just wanna, like, make that very clear because as
Mhm.
I move into deeper into this conversation, I'm bringing up a lot of stuff that's highly controversial, but
Sure.
we need to be able to look at it so we can decide if it's true or not. Okay,
Sure.
so we're gonna move along in the timeline here. So now, Zionism wants to start this state of Jewish only physical people in a physical state, okay? Now, what I'm just flipping through my notes here. Um, Now, what's important is now we've brought up the Rothschilds, okay? So
Mm.
what's important now is the Rothschilds and how we create power uh is through money, right? And, like, so money is freedom for sure, like, I think that, if you have enough money, you have the means to purchase your freedom, right? And
Mm.
so what the Zionists don't want is to share that freedom, okay?
Okay.
So they need to hoard the freedom, and in order to do that, they need to create a system of power and control that hoards the money because money buys you freedom.
Of
So if the
course.
only people that have enough money to buy freedom are the people in their bloodline that they want to keep pure,
Mhm.
um, everyone else remains there, in quotes, goyim.
Mhm. Yep.
um, Goyim is a term that Jewish people use for anyone that's not Jewish.
Okay.
Okay? So that's
Okay.
what Goya means. It's a
So, like,
slur. It's a
calling the non-magical folk muggles.
yeah. It's
So
a racial slur. Um,
yes, okay.
so I would go a step further, Steph, and
Mudblood.
say it's more of like the N word.
Yes, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um
Highly offensive and
It's
not
highly
loving.
offensive, and the first time I actually learned this word was, through a friend of mine, her ex-husband. He is Israeli, um,
Mhm.
and so I was asking him because I'm super curious about the Jewish faith, and, like, I
Mhm.
literally study the Bible and the Talmud, and, like, I find
Yeah.
this so I was talking to him, and he told me because we would go to their place for Shabbat dinner every Friday, and
Mhm.
so I was asking about Shabbat and what it is and all of that, and so on Saturdays, they don't lift a finger, right? Like, that's their
Mm,
practice
okay.
is that
Okay.
Saturday is Saturn's day, which is their god, and,
Mm.
that's the day of rest, and so they literally like, they can't make themselves coffee, like, I don't even know that they can wipe their own asses, but so he had said so I was like, "Well, then if you can't do literally anything for yourself on Saturday," which is why on Friday, then and they have to fast all day Saturday, they can't eat.
Okay. Mhm.
And so I asked him, "Well, like, how do you like, what do you do to, like, do to get this or to do that?" He's like, "Oh, well, most people would have the goyim, um, do it for them."
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the first time I had heard
Wow.
that term,
Mm,
and I was like, "Well, what is goyim?" And he's like, "Anyone that's not Jewish."
well, and that sounds slave-like, right? Like, have someone
Thank
else do
you.
things for me for today because it says that I can't do it today, and bring me my food or whatever, right? Like, that's interesting.
Exactly. And then I made a
I didn't
joke
actually know
about
that.
how he married a goyim so that she could do everything for him, but, I mean, at
How
the
was that
time I didn't
received?
no, he laughed, we laughed, but,
Good,
at the
okay,
time, I
good.
didn't quite understand how offensive the term was,
Uh-huh,
um,
uh-huh.
but over the years, this term has come up, and so this term has come up in modern, speech
Mm,
because of the Epstein files. And Jeffrey Epstein in his emails talking about the Goyim and the Goyim victims, and it doesn't matter because it's just a Goyim, and, like, all of
wow,
this, like, horrible, conversation that he had with his accomplices,
wow,
or purchasers, and how the products, can we call human people that he was selling were just Goyim, so it didn't matter.
wow, wow.
Yeah. So that's why this term has come up in recent years,
Mm, okay.
um, a lot. So anyway, so let's get back to my notes.
Yes.
So
Consult the book.
Zionism is the creation of an ethnic Jewish state, and the Rothschilds purchased Jerusalem in 1829, and then in 1913, the Federal Reserve was established. Okay, but we gotta go a little bit back from then and why the Federal Reserve was established.
Mhm.
So, in 1760, Meyer Amschel Rothschild created the House of Rothschild. His birth name was Meyer Amschel Bauer.
Okay.
So the
Oh,
Rothschilds are originally the Bauers,
okay.
like the ice skate brand, spelt the same,
Got it. Yeah.
Bauer, Bauer, which is interesting. Changed his name. So he was born in
Again.
Frankfurt, Germany in 1744,
Mhm.
um, and was a money lender and goldsmith on Jews Street in Frankfurt. There was a street called Jew Street, I don't know if it's still there, whose
I don't
shop
know,
had a
actually.
sign out front with a red hexagram,
Oh.
um, just paused there to let that sink in, a red hexagram, on it. And so he they be in German, red sign is the word is Rothschild
Uh-huh,
for
yes.
red sign.
Interesting.
So he changed his name to Rothschild because he became known as this Jewish banking lender, financial lender, with the red sign. So it was like changed his name to Rothschild so that he was associated with
Mm.
his red sign. Then there's, like, you can get into this whole esoteric conversation about the hexagram and about the color red and what the color red, symbolizes in biblical text, which I will save. You can look up a wonderful woman named Laura Sanger. She'll get into all of this. She's an expert on the Federal Reserve. She is heavily Christian, but like I said,
Mhm.
I really enjoy exploring all perspectives. And so
Absolutely.
she's a wealth of knowledge about all of this stuff. But yeah, anyway, so, um, now Meyer Amschel Rothschild, formerly Bauer, he learned
Mhm.
that loaning money to kings and governments was a lot more profitable than loaning it to your average Joe. And then he had 5 sons, okay? So he had 5 sons that he trained in the financial industry, that he then sent out to different countries in Europe. So
Mm.
he sent Nathan to London. He sent, his namesake Amskul, to Frankfurt. He sent his son Jacob to Paris, and he sent Solomon to Vienna and, Koloman, um, to Naples. So London, Frankfurt, Paris, Vienna, and Naples.
Huh.
Now, estimated their wealth at that time, dude, you're sit down if you're not sitting
At
down.
that time? Oh my
At
gosh.
that time,
Yes.
$500 trillion.
So what would that be today? Hold
Like,
on. Let me look that up.
dude,
What was the year?
this was 1913.
In 1913, worth today. Okay, are you ready?
Please.
It would be 16.82 quadrillion today.
Like, dude.
Wow.
Okay, so now what's
Wow.
important here? So the Rothschilds are Zionists, okay?
Yes.
We know that they're Zionists because Karl Marx is related to them. Well, I guess we shouldn't say we know that. We assume, we should say,
Based on their
because
writings.
based on the writings and that the
Mhm.
Rothschilds funded Karl Marx,
Yes.
okay, who's a
Yes.
Zionist communist,
Mhm.
um, that the Rothschilds probably have something to do with the promotion of him as they funded
Sure.
him,
Sure.
and what he was talking about, which was Zionism and communism, Marxism. So they then, um, in 1851, the Rothschilds bought Reuters, which is at that time and still is one of the world's largest news agencies.
Okay.
So they were based in London. So they bought media. They
But
bought
of course,
media.
because how
And
do you control
how
the public thought?
that's exactly, Steph, exactly,
Why,
right?
thank you. Gold star for
Thank
me.
thank you for connecting the dots. Um,
Sorry if that was your
so
punchline.
no, and so then Reuters, so they buy Reuters,
Uh-huh.
and then Reuters buys the Associated Press, which is in America. So Reuters is in
Uh-huh.
the UK, and then in America is the, Associated Press. So then
Got it.
they buy the Associated Press in America, um, and the Associated Press also and then, they also are the bankers. The Rothschilds are the bankers for the royal family.
Oh, good.
So, the royal family needs a loan. Like, do they need a loan? They anyway, the money in the royals is controlled by the Rothschilds. Okay,
Mhm. Okay.
please take note. Um, so so now the Rothschilds own the media and they own the gold. Um, and so their goal here is to hide the wealth of the black mobility and the Vatican, um, with the Rothschild Swiss banks. So they wanna hide all of this money from the people, from the black nobility. Black nobility mean the shadow fucking government,
Yep.
shadow
Mhm.
elite
The powers that
Draculas,
should not be.
powers that should not be. They wanna hide it. They're like, "Everyone's gonna know. This is obvious now. Everyone's gonna
Mhm,
know. We gotta hide it."
mhm,
So they wanna create the Federal Reserve. Now the Federal Reserve, just like, in Karl Marx's book, where the Communist Manifesto, he says that they wanna create a central bank with a monopoly in credit, AKA debt, right?
debt, yeah.
And they wanna abolish all of the countries, and the traditional family.
Hmm,
So now the Rothschilds are like, "Okay, we wanna move forward with this." So in, no, that doesn't matter. So in November 1910, okay?
mhm,
So now going back to what you said too, like, this is, like, Madame Blavatsky is, like, promoted this, like, beautiful way of, like, connecting with your God and, like, coming into this light. Now,
mhm,
this is
and
also she was
self-mastery.
and self-mastery, this is also in
Mhm,
Russia, which we should take note of that she was in
yep,
Russia doing this. Um,
Europe, yep,
yeah, and so this beautiful movement is moving through, the people of, like, coming home to God, and they're like,
mhm,
"Okay, well, we still need to control this," right? So in November 1910, 7 of the world's richest Jewish men held a secret meeting on Jekyll Island, which is just off the coast of Georgia, to
hmm,
establish a central bank that they called the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, those men, if you'd like to know the names, um, were, A. Piet Andrew, that's a and maybe it's the other way around. Andrew Piet, yeah. Then
okay,
Nelson Aldrich and Frank Vanderlip, which represented the Rockefellers.
mhm,
And Frank, Vanderlip was married to one of the daughters of the Rockefellers. And
okay,
then Henry Davidson, Charles Norton, and Benjamin Strong, which represented the J.P. Morgan, um,
mm,
dynasty, and then
mm,
Paul Warburg, which represented, the Rothschilds. So that we have representing the Rockefellers, J.P. Morgan, and the Rothschilds.
hmm,
Now, they meet, in November 1910, okay, to talk about the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, the 3 powerful men that opposed the Federal Reserve, now the Federal Reserve was a creation of a bank based in debt, okay? It was exactly what not real money, but debt.
hmm,
So, the powerful men that opposed it was Benjamin Guggenheim,
hmm.
Isidor Straus, and Jacob Astor. Now, at the end of our last episode, I don't
I
know if
know
it was
that
on the
name.
episode or if we recorded it after we stopped recording, we started talking about the Titanic.
Yeah.
Um, so this was in at the in November 1910. Now on April 15th, 1912, the Titanic
12,
sank.
yep.
You know what 3 men were aboard the Titanic?
I know JP Astor was one of them.
Yep, Isidor Straus and Benjamin Guggenheim, who were the
Dude,
3 powerful men that opposed the Federal Reserve.
dude. Whoa.
Dude,
And, like,
just a coincidence.
I was obsessed with the Titanic as a kid, and I think now I know why my little soul was so obsessed. There's
Yeah, 'cause
something
you're
to uncover that I wasn't. I also loved Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, yeah, I
When
mean,
the
we're that
movie
age.
came
Leo was
out.
so cute
Oh my god. Okay,
with
but
his
back to
stupid
this.
haircut.
Holy moly. Okay, that was a mic
Yeah,
drop.
yeah, mic drop. So, they were taken out of the way, okay? Now,
Whoa.
so they were taken out of the way in in the spring of 1912, and then on December 23rd, 1913, President Wilson signed a bill, the Federal Reserve Act,
Oh, dear.
um, which privately owned, um, which then the privately owned Federal Reserve System came into being in the USA. Okay.
Huh.
So the Federal Reserve basically took all of the physical money, gave it to these 3 powerful families, the Rockefellers, the JP Morgans, and the Rothschilds to control, and all of these families are Zionists,
Mhm.
okay? All of them. And then so after President Wilson somehow signs this into being, I don't know if he was, like, hoodwinked, I don't know what they told him, he then releases the following statement, and I quote, "President Wilson, I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is now controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men."
Whoa.
Goosebumps.
When was he president? Sorry, I need to
Great
look that up.
question.
Yeah. President
Would
Wilson?
Yeah, President Woodrow Wilson, let's see. March So from March 4th, 1913 to March 4th, 1921. So he
Wow.
was only the president for a short while when he signed that.
Yeah, and look at the timing of that, right? Like, sorry, you did say 1913, which was right after the
Yeah,
Titanic sunk, the year after, and almost to the, like, month day, like, April 14th, 1912 was the sinking. This is March 4th, and then it's
19
interesting because
yeah,
1921, that lines up with World War II.
absolutely.
Or 1.
So,
1? 1.
World War One, yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
Um,
Hmm.
so so also during his presidency it was the creation of the Federal Reserve and then
Mhm.
also the beginning of federal income tax.
Oh my gosh. Do you think they put him in? Like, do you think he became president almost as a plant so he could be controlled? Like, I wonder,
I mean,
I
I
don't know
think
his
that
policies, of course, like, I
yeah, I
haven't
don't
looked that up,
I
but
would say I don't know enough about him personally,
okay, yeah. If
but
any
what
Americans
I
are
would
listening and you
say
know.
yeah, what I would say is that all presidents are puppets.
For sure, I would agree, and I
Mhm.
just wonder, was he especially because he became president, I noticed, or he won the election in when does it say? In
It would've
1912, I think.
Yeah, it would've been 1912 he
Yeah.
was elected if he was put
Yeah,
in.
so it was very close after that, the sinking happened and that plan was implemented and okay,
Totally.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so the Federal Reserve is a private bank, though the title would imply something else, but it's not. It's a private bank, and um, so they can just print money. They don't need gold to back it.
Hmm,
Now, the Federal Reserve is controlled by the Rothschilds, the Warburgs, and the Schiffs. The
hmm.
Schiffs, a important name, it comes up quite a bit. Now, the House of Rothschild owns 57% of the stock.
Phew,
Da, 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 da.
more than
I'm
half.
just Yeah. So I think what I'm presenting here with the Federal Reserve being established is so at this time in like the very early 1900s, we're now seeing this Zionism movement move through the globe again, if it's a globe.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're strategically putting themselves across like an ocean now, uh,
Absolutely.
to put their control and their power very strategically. They're not, like, up in your
Mhm.
face about it. Like, it's very strategic what they're doing is, like, if we control the money, we control the freedom, right? We control the
Mhm.
power.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so they're doing this with great strategy on a long-term gain, right?
Yeah.
This isn't like, "Oh, we're just gonna come and annihilate you,"
Yeah, and
which
even
they
creating wars to assist in all of that, right? Like, 2 wars happen at that time, and
which
why
I'm
do
gonna
wars
get into.
happen? Oh, great. But, like, why do wars happen? Because man makes them happen
It's a
and
transfer of
chooses
wealth.
some silly reason to make them happen. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, sorry?
they give the people a silly reason, but then they behind the
Mhm.
scenes, it's really a transfer of
Yeah,
wealth that's what's happening.
it's all a plan, absolute.
Yeah. So I have so many notes and I'm like, "Do I need to bring this part up or can we skip this?"
So far, so good, my friend, well done.
Okay. This is going okay, I'm gonna skip that. Oh, no, this actually is important. Okay. So this Zionist, Harold Wallace Rosenthal,
Mhm,
he was a political aide who worked for the US Senator Jacob Javits, who was also a Zionist.
mhm,
And so Harold Wallace Rosenthal was killed in a terrorist attack in Istanbul in 1976.
huh.
But in the 1970s, transcripts began circulating of an interview that he did. And in that transcript, he's quoted, so he's a Zionist, he is quoted as saying, "Our power has been created through the manipulation of the national monetary system. The Federal Reserve System fitted our plan nicely since it is owned by us, but the name implies that it is a government institution from the very outset. Our purpose was to confiscate all the gold and silver, replacing them with worthless, non redeemable paper notes. We Jews have put issue upon issue to the American people. Then we promote both sides of the issue as confusion reigns. With their eyes fixed on the issues, they fail to see who is behind every scene. We Jews glorify in the fact that the stupid goy have never realized that we are the parasites consuming an increasing portion of production, while the producers are continually receiving less and less."
Wha It's like a confession.
It's literally they're proud of it.
And this is what I find so amazing is people get so up in arms about all of these facts, but it's like they're being stated by the individuals themselves. Like, I just saw something the other day, and we've talked about this, where people are going, "Oh, The Simpsons predict things." And I'm like, "Nah, man, the creator of The Simpsons was in the Epstein files. They were just confessing." Because
Yeah,
remember, once they tell you what you're doing, you go, "Oh, ha, 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 that's comedy. Look at that cartoon. Ha, I accept that." And then you think it's this funny thing, but in reality, you're consenting by giving your energy to it, and then they carry it
absolutely.
out. They're
Yeah,
never lying to you. They're just
yeah.
showing you in plain sight. And so there's another example of like, and again, back to like the WEF website. Go check out their plan for the next pandemic. It's already written on their website, you know? So,
And, like,
yeah,
it's a
wow.
universal law that
Yep.
they have to tell us the truth,
Yes.
right? But
And they're
it's
proud.
deception. They are proud.
Wow.
But, like,
Wow.
wouldn't you be, though? Wouldn't you be proud if you hoodwinked 8 billion people?
Wow.
Like, it honestly, it is impressive. Like, I can give
It
credit where
is.
credit's due. Like, it's evil
Yeah,
and
if I was an
vile, but, like
asshole, I'd be proud, but yeah. Yes. But yeah, like
yeah,
the plan worked and it was under everybody's nose, but not even under everybody's nose. You know,
yeah.
like playing like he said, this like this planned or this I don't remember what he said, but confusion, like this created confusion when there is no confusion.
But, like, look at now, look at the divide
Mhm.
and conquer, like, there's
Yep.
so much confusion in, like, right now, 2026, like,
Yes.
he said, she said, left, right, blue, red, like,
Mhm.
racist,
Inundate the
non-racist, like
people. Yep.
Totally, and so
Yeah.
it's like they've been this is a long game they've been playing, and I know
Yeah,
we're, like,
wow.
getting up to time, but
No, there's
I have
keep going, it's okay. Guys, this is
so
gonna be a
much
longer
more.
episode, just
This is
get some
gonna be longer, you might
snacks.
have to
Pause it and get
pause
some
and come
snacks.
back and get some snacks. Okay, so, now I'm gonna get into the Bolshevik Revolution. So, the Bolshevik Revolution, Jacob Schiff, Felix Warburg, and, um okay, what am I saying here? Just reading my notes like I know what I'm talking about. The
You do.
Okay, so yeah, so these Zionists, who had a heavy hand in the Federal Reserve, and the control of the money, the monopoly of money, Felix Warburg, Otto Kuhn Kahn, Mortimer Schiff, another Schiff, Isaac Zieleman, they planned to overthrow the Russian Tsar in 1916. So
Mm,
Federal Reserve comes in 1913, um, and they make this plan to overthrow the Russian Tsar in 1916. So 3 years later,
mm,
because they want to implement communism in Russia. Now, Tsar Nicholas II, his wife, his 4 daughters, and their 1 son were all known Orthodox Christians.
mhm,
So he, Tsar Nicholas II, witnessed the assassination of his father, Tsar Alexander II, as a boy,
aw,
in 1881 by a Zionist assassin called Vera uh, Figner, and she is quoted as saying the people's will. Like
mm.
she was assassinating the czar because that's what the people wanted. Um, so that was in 1881. So when he was when and then in 1905, a failed Jewish revolution took place in Russia. So they tried to start a revolution and it didn't work. And then Jacob Schiff paid $1 million to lift the ban that exiled the Jews from Russia because of their failed revolution. They were exiled from Russia um, in 1881, and then in 1905, um, they or sorry, so the revolution, the failed revolution took place in 1905, and then they were exiled from Russia. And then in 1917, Jacob Schiff paid $1 million to lift the ban and let the Jews back in.
Hmm,
And so on March 27th, 1917, Trotsky was sent, who was a Jewish communist, sent to Russia with $20 million to lead a Jewish revolution, where 90,000 Jewish exiles infiltrated Russia. So that was in 1917, and then in the spring of 1918, the Tsar and his entire family, his wife and 5 children, were brutally exiled. They were like, oh my god, I don't even wanna tell the story. It's so awful. They were taken, um, from their home. They were blindfolded and brought to an undisclosed place, brought into the basement, and then violently tortured. And the
um,
Tsar was murdered first, then his wife, then the 4 daughters, then the son.
that's horrendous.
It was, like, awful, listening to this story. Now,
Wow.
so this is a quote from David R. Francis, which was a US ambassador to Russia. And he said, I don't have the date for this. He said, the Bolshevik leaders here in Russia, most of whom are Jews and 90% of whom are returned exiles, care little for Russia or any other country, but are internationalists, and they are trying to start a worldwide social revolution. So maybe he shouldn't have said Jews, maybe he should have said Zionists.
Mhm.
Um, because they're looking to this, so this is before Israel has been created, right?
Yeah, wow.
Israel is a modern state, a
Mhm.
modern country. So they're looking for a place to establish. So and they also want, in Karl Marx's book there, like, they want no countries. They want total control of the globe.
Hmm.
Um, so duh, oh, yeah, and then there's, like, this, like, conversation about whether Stalin was Jewish or not, while he
Ah.
would yeah, so he never outwardly said that he was Jewish, but he spoke Yiddish.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
he had 3 Jewish wives, and his real name was Losif. Oh, I don't know if I can say this. Dude, this is gonna be embarrassing. Okay, I'm gonna give it a shot,
Well,
y'all.
pronouncing it.
This is a name. This is 2.
Okay.
This is a name. Bear with me. Stalin's real name, Losif Vissarionovich
Yep.
Dzhagashvili. I don't
Interesting. So
know.
it sounds very Eastern European.
Very. Um
Yes. Okay. Russian/Eastern European. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now a noble but why I wrote this down is that he changed his name. Like, why are we changing our
Yeah,
name?
again. I
What's
know,
going on?
again.
What are we hiding?
Yeah.
Um, and
Your
so
origins
now
probably.
a Nobel Peace Prize winning novelist and historian and a victim of the Jewish Bolshevik Revolution. His name is Alexander Solsk. Oh my god, Heinistism. I'm so bad. He lived from 1918 to 2008. Now, he's I'm quoting this man because he is somewhat credible. He's a Nobel Peace Prize winning novelist and historian.
Sure.
He is quoted as saying, in quotes, "You must understand, the leading Bolsheviks who took over Russia were not Russians. They hated Russians. They hated Christians, and driven by ethnic hatred, they tortured and slaughtered millions of Russians without a shred of human remorse. The October Revolution was not what you call in America the Russian Revolution. It was an invasion and conquest over the Russian people. More of
Mm.
my countrymen suffered horrific crimes at their blood-stained hands than any people or nation ever suffered in the entirety of human history. It cannot be understated. Bolshevism was the greatest human slaughter of all time. The fact that most of the world is ignorant of this reality is proof that the global media itself is in the hands of the perpetrators. We
Mhm.
cannot state that all Jews are Bolsheviks, but without Jews, there would have been no Bolshevism. For a Jew, nothing is more insulting than the truth. The blood maddened Jewish terrorists murdered 66 million in Russia from 1918 to 1957. That is a quote from a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Wow. But yearly, we are put into an assembly in high school and school, and we are shown the Holocaust that took place, but we don't hear about this. We don't talk
That's
about
right.
this. We don't
Why are
watch
we
videos of people in gas chambers about this,
about
but
66 million?
which I believe is much more than what happened during World War II.
6. They claim
Wow.
6.
Wow.
Um, so the Bolshevik Revolution was happening in Russia from 1918 to 1957.
That's a long
World War
time.
One was from 1914 to 1918, and
Yep.
World War II was from 1939 to 1945. So the Bolshevik Revolution was happening the entire time,
Wow. But in Russia.
but in Russia.
Wow. Wow.
So before World War One, so from 1870 to 1914, the world was dominated by empires. Okay,
Mm.
so there was the British Empire, the German Empire, the Russian Empire, the Austrian-Hungary Empire, the France Empire, and the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman
Mm.
Empire being the Arabs.
Yep.
Everything else is white. Now, Germany unified in 1871 and industrialized rapidly. And their 2 main
Mm,
alliances, or sorry, there were 2 main alliances at this time. So this was before World War One.
mhm,
Um, there was the Triple Alliance, which was Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, and then there was
mhm.
the Triple Entente. Is that how I say that? You know.
I don't know, I have to see it spelled.
The Britain, France, and Russia. So,
Mm,
Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy, and then Britain, France, and Russia. Okay.
mm,
Now, so Federal Reserve was established in 1913, and then World War One started in 1914. So what's going on here?
yeah,
Because the Rothschilds are like, "Oh, you know what makes money? War."
yeah.
Um,
And all of
so
these places you're mentioning are the courts where Saint Germain appeared in that earlier
interesting.
time. Like, they listed France, Russia, Germany, Hungary, etcetera, right? So that's yeah, wow.
Yeah. Um, so what like the story that we have received that started World War One,
Mhm,
was that on June 28th, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was
mhm,
assassinated. Um, and so when he was assassinated, um, Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia,
of
and
course, just
then
blame the Serbs.
yeah.
I am
It's
one,
your
I'm allowed to say
it's
that.
it's your people.
Yes, my people.
It's your people. Uh, so Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia, and then Russia backed Serbia, and then
Mhm,
Germany backed Austria-Hungary, and then France backed Russia, and Britain entered after Germany invaded Belgium. So then in 1917, the Russian Revolution takes place, which we know as in America as the October Revolution,
yes, yep,
which we learned about in school briefly,
yep,
if
yep,
I recall from back in the day.
yeah.
Uh, it's
Couldn't give
interesting.
you any facts really, but
No, I know I wasn't
they
listening. I
hammered
wasn't
World
listening
War
to 'em.
One and World War II into us, that's for sure.
They did. Um, so the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power, and then Russia exited World War One, and the world's first communist state emerged. Okay,
Okay.
which was the Soviet Union.
Mhm.
Um, and then in and then so okay, so right as, um, the at the end of the war, so the World War One starts in 1914, and then it ends in 1918. So everyone's tired, okay? In
Mm,
1917,
sure.
everyone's tired because this is like boots on the ground warfare, right? Like
Yeah. This
this is
isn't like
not
drones being piloted from America in Iraq or anything like that, like, this
yeah,
is
like
real
this is
people
like
doing it.
literal armies of men running in fields directly at each other with, like,
Wow.
swords and guns, like, come on.
Mhm.
So they're all tired. So, in 1917, the US enters the war. So they're fresh, and they join Britain.
Mhm.
Why? Why might they do that? Because who owns the banking systems and the media,
Ah,
right?
yes.
In the US. Who owns the banking systems and the media in the US? Remember what we talked about. Um,
Mhm.
so they enter the war and they join Britain. Now, um, then in 1918, Germany and its allies lose. Remember, who started the war? Germany? No, Austria-Hungary. Germany
Mhm.
had previously signed, a declaration of goodwill with Austria-Hungary that no matter what, they would back them. So Germany got pulled into the war. Wasn't They didn't start it, wasn't their fight. They were
Mhm.
just chose a side, teamed
Yep.
up, didn't start the fight. But somehow Germany loses the war,
Mm.
and then in 1918, the Treaty of Versailles is brought into
Hmm.
power? That's not the word. I don't know. what's the word? You know what
Uh,
I'm saying.
it's is signed or brought forward, I guess.
Brought forward.
Treaty was
Yeah,
signed, yeah.
and so in the Treaty of Versailles, the Germany is forced to accept war guilt. They're forced to pay reparations.
Oh my gosh.
Their military forces are forced to be, like, obsolete, and they're forced to give up territory.
What?
What?
Huh,
So this, completely destabilizes Germany. Like,
sure.
their mark becomes, which is their money, right?
Okay.
Becomes null and void. Like, they're like, the inflation, they have hyperinflation, economic collapse, political violence. Meanwhile, in the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin is rapidly industrializing, and they have brutal repression in this first ever communist state.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and then while this is happening, Italy, um, has Mussolini come into power, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the Great Depression happens in 1929. And
Huh.
then so the world is exactly as the Zionists want, like, not okay.
Controlled,
Now,
poor, and terrified.
just, like, everyone is just they're starving. Like, that was the other thing in the Russian or in the, Bolshevik Revolution is they were, like, literally starving people, and then they were resorted to cannibalism and eating grass, and it's, like, it's
Wow.
crazy. These are just my Coles notes from this
And
docuseries.
And honestly, it's crazy to think, just a side note, like, my grandparents are Serbian. They lived in former Yugoslavia, and they came to Canada, like, they were born in the '30s. So, like,
Yeah,
they were born very close to when this turmoil was happening, and they escaped, like, they left Serbia during wartime, not these particular wars, but and then came to they called it America,
yeah.
but they came to North America for a better life and to survive. Like, separation, divide and conquer within that country is its own story, but it's one in the same, it's just like a smaller version of what we're discussing here.
Well, and what it is it's just like the seas of power, and, like, you're literally by taking the money away from everybody and making it completely invaluable, you've stolen their freedom, which is the
Yeah,
ultimate goal of these
yeah,
powers that should not be. And
totally.
I think they've accomplished their goal quite well, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so.
And so, like, this is what's going on back then, and so, like, the other thing that happens is what is it called? The Balfour Declaration, which is,
Mm,
signed and given, this Israel, like, Israel's just given from the UK, like, they have the ability to just be like, "Hey, sorry, Palestine, give up your this amount of your land," and now Israel's formed. Like, that's the Declaration of Balfour, and it's
yeah.
literally written to one of the Rothschilds, which I didn't write notes on, which I don't know
What
why, but
was what was the year of that? Like, when did Israel become a state or a
I don't know.
country
I
or
should have wrote
whatever?
this down 'cause,
I feel like you
um,
said it earlier, you mentioned it to me, but maybe not
I think it
not
was in the
live.
40s. Let me just Israel Declaration of Balfour.
Which should give you all a lot of information about the current, I don't even wanna say conflict, but genocide that's happening right now in Palestine is like, this is a continuation of a plan that began a long time ago, right? Like, I think even though this is still going on, this is waking up so many people to the information that Mel is delivering right now.
Yeah. So the Balfour Declaration issued it on November 2nd, 1917,
Hmm,
from Arthur Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary, to Lionel Walter Rothschild, a leader in the British Jewish community. The key passage stated that the British government viewed with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. So
okay,
1917.
okay. Noted,
So
thank
it
you.
was it was in So in 1918, the British forces took control of Palestine from the Ottomans. And in 1922, the League of Nations granted Britain the mandate for Palestine, incorporating the Balfour Declaration into the mandate. So it wasn't until 1948 that the modern state of Israel had declared independence,
Hmm.
um, leading to the first Arab-Israeli war. So
Okay.
this is, like, all happening at the same time, right? And what's interesting is that in our textbooks, as we're, like, learning this stuff, we didn't learn about the Balfour Declaration. We didn't learn
No.
about the creation of Israel. We
No.
learned about World War I and World War II. We learned that the Austrian painter was a very, very bad man, and there was a
Mhm.
heavy focus on the Austrian painter being a very, very bad man. But why? Why was he such a bad man? Okay?
Mhm.
And that brings me, um, to that. Like, it's like, we now know what's going on, in this general region of the world that's completely gl like, just destroyed, decimated. Like, there's little hope for the people that are living here. They have no
Mm.
money, they're hungry, there's no real hope. And then so we have the rise of the Austrian painter, which is Adolf Hitler.
Mhm.
Did you hear that?
I did, for those who
Perfect.
don't know. You
So
can
we have to whisper it
Google that term
because,
if you didn't hear it.
The Austrian painter, his real name gets super censored online.
Yeah.
Um And who owns the media? Who is censoring the
Mm,
truth?
mm,
So he, rises to power. So his rise to power was during this horrible state and condition that Germany was in. Now, he was a great speaker. I've listened to a lot of his speeches and read them that have been translated into English, and it's like, yeah. It makes
interesting.
sense because he's promising that he's going to return Germany, um, to a wonderful place, okay?
Mhm, mhm.
And what his goal was, so the Nazi party was a fascist socialist party. So his goal in labeling it fascist socialist was to unite the two extremes, right? Because on
Okay.
one extreme of the right, you have the fascists, and on the other extreme of the left, you have the socialists. So he was like, "Let's bring everyone together," right? So
Hmm,
he created a new party that combined 2 extremes, which is quite fascinating, really.
that is interesting.
And he promised economic recovery, national pride, and the reversal of the Treaty of Versailles. W And his support grew. It grew and it grew, and then in 1933, he became the chancellor. Um, so and then in ni so 3 no, not 3 years, 1939, so World War II begins in 1939. So he was put into power in 1933. He was voted in a democratic election into power,
Mm,
and then Germany turned around. Like, like, it was thriving. People were dancing and singing, and, like, the economy was restoring, like, things were getting better. And then, World War II begins in 1939, and remember, they lost land in as reparations for, quote, unquote, "losing World War One." So then
mm,
Germany starts to expand, and they don't expand by conquering. The neighboring countries want to join because they're also suffering from the hands of this Zionist regime.
mhm.
So they willingly join, like, they're not conquered. So Ryland joins, Austria joins, and the Czechoslovakia join. because they want to, and they also don't wa they want to avoid war. So they're like, "Germany's on the rise. Let's, be
Yeah,
backed by a strong nation."
sure.
Um, and then but then Germany, I don't know, I wrote they invade Poland, in
Mm.
1939, and then Britain and France declare war. Um, so I don't know, maybe we'll leave it there, and,
Yeah, that's a
'cause
lot.
it is a lot, and I know
Yeah.
we've gone over time, but I guess what I'm my point in presenting all of this information is
Mhm.
that we're looking at the Pantheon of Gods. And so what's hard to tell as we've moved into modern times, right? Like more recent modern times we've dissected the gods as like, our Hollywood like leaders and our political leaders. But during this period of time, um, in from the 1700s to the late 1900s, we're talking about a period of time that was really in duress, right? Like, there was a lot
Mhm.
going on, and so the gods are hidden at this point. Like, there's not a lot
That's
to
interesting.
look towards, and so I think what why I've presented all of this is to try to see that our gods went into hiding. They started changing their names,
Mhm.
and they started working covertly in these very intelligent operations to gain power from within a system, and not overtly. And so we're just planting that seed that, okay, so what's behind the curtain? Which, last
Mhm.
episode we talked about in The Wizard of Oz. What's behind the curtain?
Yeah.
Who are the gods behind the curtain?
And you make a really good point too that all the gods almost went into hiding because that's the same with like what Madame Blavatsky was bringing forward was these hidden masters. They were never just called masters. They were hidden. So even
Mm,
the light had to go underground so that the
right.
message could get out there and be received. And yes, people like her were considered quacks or like they were made to be, they were spoken of poorly or like look at the witch burning era even, which I'm sure we are gonna go back to.
Yeah.
But this time where innocent people were labeled a certain way and had to go into hiding because they had other knowledge, right? So, and that would be the dark ages that we're talking about. So
Totally.
even like the malevolent gods and the gods that were working in the light had to almost be hidden so that
Yeah.
they could continue their malevolent plans or their plans to save humanity. It's interesting
Right.
how they mirror one another in that sense in this period of time.
Absolutely. Everything is we're just that history repeats itself, right? And like
Yeah,
we keep allowing
and
it to.
we do, and that's like, I was saying to Mel before we started, like, I know I'm annoying in how much I talk about Atlantis, but the reason why and I even saw a reel, like, so this gal recently who is a healer using, like, I guess this line to piss people off so that they would click on her reel, but she was like, "I have a personal ick when people talk about Atlantis and Lemuria and whatever, and they say it's all connected to that." Because it fucking is. Because this
Yes,
is where we fucked up before, and we have to look at history and learn from those decisions or from those poor decisions we made and
I
that
agree.
the story continues. It's the same like, the same conflicts that are happening today are being created by the same families and bloodlines that Mel has been talking about throughout this episode.
Yes. It's literally it's just it's a copy and paste. Like
Yeah.
and like I think Atlantis is such an important conversation because it's so deeply hidden and anything
Yes.
that's hidden is like why? Like,
Mhm.
for me, it's like, what are you hiding? What do you not want me to know? Let me decide for myself if I should know this information or
Yes.
not. Don't keep it from me. I'm
Yes.
immediately suspect as soon as it becomes hidden, which is what a cult is, right? Isn't that what
Yeah.
that means? Hidden?
Yeah. Well, and that's
Um,
even like look at like a codependent or narcissistic relationship. There's so much that's hidden. Like this is the microcosm I'm looking at,
Right.
but there's so many things that the narcissist hides. Everybody thinks that the narcissist is charming and sunshiny and wow, look at how kind and charming and exciting he is. But behind closed doors, that person that is in that relationship with that narcissist is dealing with a whole other entity, you know? So it's like
Yes.
that's a very, like, specific example, but it's like they're doing that in, like, the macro way, whereas
Mhm.
we're observing that in our lives in a smaller way, right?
Yeah.
Random, but
So, no, everything that exists in the micro exists in the macro, everything in the
yeah.
macro is in the micro, and it's like, let's just expand our knowledge or and then be able to decipher what's really going on here. And so I think looking at these really dark topics is so important to figure out what's going on in modern day and how they've really been controlling this narrative since the dawn of
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
And the more we find out, the better armed we are. And I really like what you said in last episode um, about not engaging, just ignoring so
Yeah.
that we can, move on with our lives. Like, we don't have to fight these they want us to fight.
Yes.
Um, they
Yep.
want us to fight, and so it's like, well, actually, we know your MO now. We know what you're
Yeah,
doing,
yeah.
and we know where the freedom is. The freedom is in money, and so they coined this saying, "Money is the root of all evil." That is so wrong. Like, that is not true.
Yeah.
Money is actually the root of all freedom, right? And
Uh-huh.
so it's
Uh-huh.
like, I think that all of us that have money blocks and money issues in our personal lives, it's like come back to the realization that you being wealthy, you creating wealth and abundance in your life is extremely empowering and actually
Mhm.
disempowers the powers that should not be.
Yes.
Uh so I don't know. Yeah, that's like a whole other thing.
And
Maybe our next healing episode will be on money,
that's a good
money
idea,
blocks.
wealth and
Yeah.
abundance.
So I think with that, what are we talking about next
Wow.
episode? We're going into religion, aren't we?
Yes, we are. I don't remember our nuances though of the Mel's been the librarian in this sense for our organizational, capabilities, so thank you, Mel, for
No problem. My absolute pleasure. I've written here for our next episode, so stay tuned. Which you guys all are, and we apologize. Last week we didn't have a episode. Life just got life in, and
Oh, yeah.
we also needed more time. Well, we needed more time to research today's episode. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah.
n- super super loving our devout listeners. And then
We
next
love
week we're
you.
gonna talk about the birth of Christianity, power and devotion and the lost feminine. Uh,
Mm.
we're going back from 0 to 300 AD. So we're gonna go back 2,000 more years. Um, and yeah, talk about
Those are, like, my
Jesus, Mother
favorite
Mary,
times.
Mary Magdalene,
Yep.
Sophia, all that good stuff.
Cleopatra might even show up in there. Not
Ooh,
that she's a
yes,
religious figure, but I have a reason why, and we will find out next week when I
yes,
find
she
out
will.
first.
Yeah, and yeah, no, we're it's gonna be good because then we'll go back to the pagan Europe and earth-based gods. We're gonna get on all of this.
That's my
Oh, yeah,
favorite
we have a
stuff.
whole episode for Egyptian knowledge
I cannot
right
wait for
there.
this, and I think this is the most exciting stuff because we're seeing where, like, power and religion or, like, spirituality were so intrinsically connected, and why that sort of has carried through to the modern day and why it hasn't. So,
And why, in modern day, they decided to separate church from state in the
bingo.
yeah, another
Yeah.
deception.
So more on
Anyway.
that later.
Thank you to our loyal listeners. We're so grateful you're here, and may peace be with you.
May peace be with you.